I remember the one time I did call a number that I was told was his mother's number. And I called it and I asked for her. And the person who answered, they said, hold on. And my heart began to pound. And I was like, oh my God, it's happening. And I hung up. Well, I got my courage up a few months later, and when I dialed that same number, they said, oh no, you have the wrong number. There's no one here by that name. So my own fear kept me from actually connecting with him when I could have. My name is Marquita, and you are watching my channel, That Girl Marquita.
My name is Sin Q. I was born and raised in Florida.
I am from California.
My mother raised me. I grew up with a brother and two sisters, and I didn't know any family members on my father's side of the family.
I grew up the only child with my mother, but I did have a picture of a little boy that my dad had told me was my older brother. I didn't know this little boy's name. I didn't know where he lived, but I remember from time to time I would look at that picture and I would fantasize about who this person was and what life would be like if I had my older brother growing up.
When I was a little kid, I can remember I used to be so excited to see my father. He would travel from California to Florida to visit me on birthdays, Christmas, holidays. He would take me school shopping. And then one day he called the house to speak with me, and my stepfather answered the phone, and they had a very heated argument. And as a result of that argument, I never heard from my father again.
Growing up, I would see my dad casually from time to time, but he never played an active role in my life. And the last time that I saw him was 10 years ago. My mom and I were driving down the street, and he was walking down the street. We pulled over, and I used that opportunity to get as much information from him as I could. Mostly I wanted to know the name of the little boy that was in the picture. And my dad gave me his name along with his birthday, where he lived, his mother's name. I remember he gave me his mother's nickname. Anything I think that could be helpful for me to locate him, he gave me that information.
At age 14, that was the last time I spoke with my father. When I turned 18 years old, I had a daughter. 2 years passed. I was 20 years old. I decided I need to find him and let him know he had a granddaughter. So I did an internet search. I couldn't find anything. I hired a private investigator, and I talked to some of his old friends. Nobody could find anything.
Once I got my brother's name, I began to search for him, but fear was very present for me. Mostly I was afraid of the type of person that he could be. And this may sound very bad, but it's the truth. I was afraid that maybe he was a pimp, or he was a drug dealer, he was banging, just everything negative. I was like, I do not want to know that. I don't want to introduce that in my life, so maybe I shouldn't go knocking on doors. And that fear kept me from really actively looking for him. One particular time, this report came up, and it had a list of people that were associated to his household. So I think it was like 5 names. I took those 5 names and I put them in Facebook, and the first 2, nothing came up. And the third one, which was my oldest niece, whose name is very distinctive, her profile came up, and it matched her living in Florida. And so I was like, I was a little hopeful for it, but I could only send her a message. I sent her a message, and actually I had forgot about it. Months later, I just kind of went on casually, and I remember my mom and I were sitting in my living room, and I get, a response from her. And I had asked her, I said, I know this sounds very strange, but by chance, is your father Sin Q? And she said yes.
She says, Dad, I have something to tell you. I went through my Facebook messages from a few months back, and I got a message from this lady. She was asking me questions about you, and she said that it's a possibility you might be her brother. She asked me if it's okay if I send her a picture of you, and I immediately told her yes. So she sent a picture of me to her.
What I don't think I've shared with them was that I was very afraid at the time that this was happening, that someone was playing a bad joke on me, because I had given them my brother's name, I had given them my dad's name, and so it would be very easy for them to be like, oh yeah, my dad is such and such, my dad is such and such. And I know it sounds crazy, but I was very suspicious about all of this. Like, it just seemed like it was too good to be true. But my brother sent over a picture of what he looked like, and both me and my mom gasped because he looked dead on my father.
I told my daughter to get her number, and she got her phone number, and I immediately called her. And we started talking, and I spoke with her and her mom remembers my father talking to me when I was a little kid, and she talked about how much he loved me and he cared about me, and the reason he stopped talking to me was because he felt like I would have a better life without him in my life.
Life after connecting with my brother has really been great. It's really been a blessing in so many ways. My mother's side of the family is really small, and I've already shared that I was the only child, and my heart's desire, like, I wanted my own nieces and nephews. And I would pray, that God allowed for me to marry into a big family so that I can have, nieces and nephews to spoil and like take to the circus. And so connecting with my brother has been a blessing, not only because I have finally been able to form a relationship with the little boy that was in the picture that I used to fantasize about, but I have 2 older nieces and I have a nephew. And then later on, I became a great aunt. And then I became a new aunt. So I went from having no nieces and nephews to having 2 nieces, 2 nephews, and being a great aunt, all within connecting with my brother. So it's been really awesome.
Since finding my sister, life's been pretty good. Even though I haven't found my father, I feel a connection because I have my sister. And that means the world to me.
I chose to share my story with you guys in hopes that if anyone out there is struggling with fear and allowing fear to keep you from reaching out to people or having conversations, that you allow my story to be an example for you and you make the decision to be fearless so that you don't make the same mistakes that I made. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember, be bold, be honest, be fearless.